Welcome to Cowgirl Talk, where we empower you to live authentically through real food, real talk, and real life. Sisters brought together by our love of cows. We're your host, Emily, a dairy lover and personal trainer living in Florida.
And Becca, a corporate cowgirl holding down the family fort in Pennsylvania. Let's go, cowgirls!
Hello, and welcome back to Cowgirl Talk. We are so excited for today's episode because we have Haley and Stephanie Painter from the Painterland Sisters, and we are just going to have a really amazing, fun, energetic conversation about what it was like growing up in dairy. Because, fun fact, we are both, all of us, are dairy girls. We're from Pennsylvania, and we've both kind of, gone into business together. Theirs on a bit of a bigger scale, but we're going to talk about all things starting a brand, finding your voice, staying true to yourself, and just about everything in between. So it is just a really great conversation that I think you're going to take a lot away from. And if you don't know Painterland Sisters Yogurt, I think you'll definitely want to try it. Yeah, you'll definitely want to try it after this episode. But so we can jump right into the conversation. Let's get into our highs and lows. Becca, let's hear your highs and lows for the week.
Yes, and shout out to my Dairy Bowl girls, which I know a couple of them listen. There was Painterland Sisters Yogurt at our Holstein convention that I talked about a few episodes back, and we were all like, I remember one of them said, "Hey, you should interview them on your podcast." I was like,
yes,
"Oh, how
manifested
about
it.
We manifested this interview. So my highs and lows, my high this week is pretty easy. I got to pick up my wedding dress on Monday.
Oh my gosh, how are you feeling with now being just about 2 months out from the wedding?
Yeah, I didn't. It's been like my Super Bowl so far planning a wedding, and I didn't really understand like the stress people talked about. But now that vendors are just like peppering us with final questions, final payments are going in, and people are like talking to us about diet restrictions or I forgot this guest or like those little things that just come in that aren't a big deal and they're like they're normal. It kind of hit me. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit, this is
It's real.
stressful. This is real. Oh my gosh. But I'm most excited. I'm just excited to have a party. And honestly, I'm excited to go on the honeymoon.
Yes. That is, I will say, I've experienced it. It is fun. And no matter what, it's always worth it at the end. And no matter what, you're going to be married, right? Like, no matter what.
No matter what, we're going to be married. So, and then while I picked up my wedding dress, mom is getting some alterations made to her mother of the bride dress, I guess.
yeah, I guess we'll go.
But it's been a lot of fun because we've had to do like some creative alterations to it to make sure she loves it 100%, and it is an awesome dress.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, mom and I haven't gotten to do something like that in a really long time, so it's been cool.
Yeah, like when you have the chance to do that often, just go get dresses altered and be girly girls.
Yeah, be girly girls, exactly. And so that's been fun. Then my low is I get allergy shots on a weekly basis because I have the worst allergies in the world. I get that from our dad. And like we're getting married outside in a forest during the pollinating.
Oh man, I didn't think of that part. I don't have to, right?
I've been getting allergy shots. I finally bit the bullet and started them in preparation. And my Thursday allergy shot, thankfully, after our interview with the Painterland Sisters, messed me up. So you're only going to have to hear this nasally allergy voice for the intro. I'm trying so hard not to sniffle right now. I want to sniffle so bad.
Just like plug your nose while I'm talking.
Like put a clothespin on it.
Yes. I know people can watch this, but it'll just be for a small snippet of it. People are like, what is wrong with Becca?
Yeah. Oh, but no, it's been a good week. It's been a really good week. I'm just excited to be married to Joe. I can't wait for him to be my husband.
Oh God, stop. It's so cute. So cheesy. So romantic. Yeah, so I guess I can stay on the sappy side of things. So my high would be that even soon, but by the time like when this releases on Monday, March 11th, that's my 1-year wedding anniversary.
Woo!
Woo! Yeah, so time freaking flies. I can't believe a year ago everyone was flying in. We were getting everything ready. It
Yeah.
truly just does go by so fast. And it was the best day. I'm so looking forward to you and Joe's day. And Ruben and I have been together so long that sometimes it doesn't feel that different. But even still, it
Yeah.
is wild that we got to celebrate and actually officially be married a year ago. And I'm just, so thankful to be doing this journey together. And like you said, you were just so excited to marry Joe. And it's just very fun. It's fun to do life with your person. So we hit our 1 year anniversary. And
Are you gonna eat the same food, like in
you know what?
celebration?
I was thinking of what could we do that's small, because we're not going on a trip or anything, but I thought, well, unfortunately, our favorite donut place that we had as dessert, they're closed, so that's a bummer.
Yeah.
But the Venezuelan restaurant, the Latin restaurant that we had to cater, they're open still, but I don't know if they're open on Mondays, so we'll have to
Oh,
figure it out.
call them. Just
And I'm
like
like, hey,
maybe get takeout on Sunday and have it in the fridge ready for Monday.
that's a good point. I mean, we're the wife of the owner, and she's part owner too. I mean, we know each other, like we're friends. And I think we're the only wedding they've catered before other than their own. So maybe it's, a little in of like, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh
Okay,
my
we'll
God,
have to
that
figure
food
that out.
was so good.
Oh man, yeah. If anyone listening, if you're looking for a new food to try, arepas. It's like Latin Venezuelan food. So freaking delicious. And we had it at our
So
wedding.
good. So
Yes,
good.
so amazing. That was the high, still is the high, right? I guess it's something to continuously look forward to, but I feel like you got to celebrate it. It maybe always doesn't feel like, a huge deal when you've been together so long, but it's still so fun and still worth celebrating.
Yeah, why not? Like,
Exactly. Why not?
it gives you an excuse to do something fun for yourselves.
That's a good point. Why
Just go
not? There's
do
always
it.
a reason to
Just
celebrate.
celebrate it. If you have a reason to celebrate, just do it.
Heck yes. And we'll probably just celebrate with food. And we do have one of our bridal shower gifts. It was wines for different occasions. And we do have a first anniversary wine. So
Oh, that's fun.
woohoo.
Actually, another high. Sorry, I'm doing two. I'm 'cause this will really end. So I picked up my wedding dress on Monday. Joey's parents held a wine tasting for us for the
Yeah.
wedding. And so that just made me think we're getting 4 different wines, one of each of the wines we've picked, so that on anniversaries we can
Oh,
have like one of our wedding wines. So thank you for that idea.
that is so fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I accidentally got a little drunk.
Yeah, Becca's texting our sibling group chat like, oh, this is kind of fun.
I didn't mean to. It just like kind of hit me of I've tried like 8 to 10 different wines and I'm feeling it.
Well, I know like all alcohol hits you, but I feel like wine just some reason it feels like it hits a little bit different. It makes you like
It
giddy,
It
especially if
does.
it's for your wedding. It's just the whole vibe of it of like, ew, I'm planning for the wedding and
Yeah.
drinking
Like,
wine.
ooh, this one is a little spicy. This Rioja will pair perfectly with our pork tenderloin. Like, oh my God. And then meanwhile, we go home and for dinner, we have like deep fried chicken nuggets for dinner or something. So
Fine.
like, we'll be
Balance.
balanced. Okay, sorry. So you've got your wine.
No.
That's good.
Yes, no, yeah. So that's what we have. No, I loved your interjection there because it was funny when you texted us. And I think her brother was like, getting wedding wine drunk on a Monday is like a goat move.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you didn't have a hangover at all the next morning, or even just like a
did.
headache.
I did.
Oh, so that could
Little
also be a low.
Yeah, that could also be a low. You're right.
Oh, that's fun. Okay, so that's my high, but I didn't have any wine this week, or so I didn't have a chance to get any wine lit. So that's not a low for me, but I would say low, which technically hasn't happened yet when we're recording this, but we're losing an hour of sleep this weekend. And this actually happened last year. We got married on a Saturday. So the night of our wedding, like when we were all, lit, needed that sleep, we lost an hour of sleep last year on our wedding night.
That's right. I forgot about that because the bars had a weird closing time because we tried to go out and find bars after your wedding and nothing was open.
Yeah. So daylight savings is just, I know everyone's complaining about it. It's just so weird that it still exists, but we're losing an hour of sleep this weekend, which not too big of a deal, but I don't know. I've had a pretty good week.
On Sunday, the sun doesn't rise until, sun doesn't set until 7 p.m.
Oh, that's
So
going to be
that's like
exciting.
a high that comes from the low tonight.
Exactly. It's a low leading into a high. And I would say as well with that in Florida, though, I guess it's just because we're more south, right? It does take a little bit longer to get light in the morning. And so with the time jumping forward, it will stay darker a little bit longer in the mornings, but that's something I'm willing to take to have some longer evenings and just longer days.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But aside from what do we got? Allergy shots, wine drunk, wedding stuff, all of the fun things. I'm surprised we really didn't have anything with food this week. I guess drinks, but it counts.
I mean, there was still food tied in there.
Yeah, we'll always have the plug. So those are some fun highs and lows, but I am so excited to dive into this conversation. So let's get into it with the Painterland Sisters. We are here with the Painterland Sisters, Stephanie and Haley, and we are just so excited to be having this conversation. We were already chatting a lot before we started recording this, and we realized, hey, this conversation's too good. We're going to keep talking if we don't start recording, and we are just so excited to have these two sisters on our podcast, as we're also two sisters. We're all from Pennsylvania. We're all dairy girls, and I am just so excited to hear about your journey, personally, but also within the business. So thank you, ladies, for being on, and welcome to Cowgirl Talk.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's really cool. It's very serendipitous that we can be on this call together with all four of us in the same boat. That's so fun. Sisters. Yeah.
I know it's fun just looking at all of us right now, because Haley said earlier, like, I didn't realize how much you looked alike, Becca and Emily. And I was like, coming from you two. But I think it's going to be a really fun conversation. And just to get into it, to allow everyone to know a little bit more about who you two are, because I know we see a lot about the brand on Painterland Sisters, and I love following along. But I would love for each of you to just give a quick little introduction into who you are.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's so hard to give an intro of us without the brand, but Steph, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm the older sister, which I'm not allowed to say.
Okay, when we do our sales pitches, I tell her you cannot say that in the business world. That's like an automatic, like, oh, okay.
Well, I feel like people, when they interact with you, immediately understand who the older sister is. So you don't even have to say it.
Probably.
It's hard. That birth order is real. But yeah, so I have taken that out of our sales pitch. I am not the older sister in the sales pitch, but I'm Stephanie Painter. So I am the older sister. And I just turned 30 on Monday. So my life has just totally evolved since Monday. I have 3 children. I have 2 girls and a little 5-month-old baby boy and some dogs and my fiance. And yeah, so I live at our family's organic dairy farm about half the time, and then half the time in Lancaster County. So yeah, true animal lover, and just excited to be in business with my sister. So I'll let her go.
I'm Haley Painter. First of all, I love cheese. So that's the cheese poster in the background. This is not going to be a visual podcast, is it?
Oh, it is.
Oh, it is. So, yeah, I love cheese. And animals. I've always loved animals growing up. You guys know, growing up on a farm, you either go towards the animals or you go towards the crop work, or maybe you like a little bit of both, but not as much. Well, I was a huge sucker for the animals. I think Stephanie was as well. But my fiance calls me Snow White because he says they all follow me.
I love that.
So I have a bunch of cats right now, mostly because, cats on a farm, people drop them off, and then I end up bringing in all the ones that they can't survive outside, right? So I bring them in.
And then she gives them all to her siblings too. So I have 4 cats here.
It's a cat farm now at this point.
Yeah.
Yep. But I live on the farm. I can kind of show you a little bit.
Oh,
there
look
we
at
go.
that.
Yeah, that's the farm.
It really actually stinks being on the computer all day while I look out the window and they're working calves or
hauling poop or something like that. It's like, I just want to go outside.
Let's go outside, haul poop.
Farm girl stuff.
I've never had another job besides like a serious job. Like I've dabbled in cheese making. I've went to Costa Rica. I made cheese in New Jersey. I worked at our, the research facility, the dairy science facility at Iowa State. But as far as I did the books for our family farm growing up, I worked the calves, but as far as having like a concrete other job, no, we fast track knew what we wanted to do. And it was, how do we get back to the farm? How do we find a niche? And how do we sustain this sucker? And particularly, how do we sustain the cows, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to say, so you can't tell the Stephanie and Haley Painter sister story without getting into Painterland Sisters.
I was going to say that actually leads really nicely into what we wanted to like get into, which I could tell Haley, it was funny how you said, it's hard for me to introduce myself without talking about Painterland. So let's get into it. I guess like you were getting into it a little bit, Haley, with how do we sustain the cows? How do we find our place on the home farm? So give us the story of what inspired you both to start Painterland Sisters and why yogurt?
So Painterland Sisters is paying heritage to Painterland Farms, our 4th generation family's farm in northern Pennsylvania. We have a ton of hills and valleys and a lot of family members working on it. Being in northern PA with the rolling hills, it's not like we can have fancy technology for everything. Like we have to get down and dirty with the land sometimes because the land just isn't that friendly. So it's pretty cool. I really, we loved growing up on the farm because we had the calves, we have the dairy cows, we graze because the hills, it's like, if you don't graze them, what else are we going to do with that? We can't grow soybeans or any crops on it. You might as well let the cows graze on it. So we grew up with the cows grazing and raising the calves. And then on top of it, you always have hobbies, right? So we had the goats and one horse that I fell in love with. The cats, like we talked about, sheep and chickens and turkeys and ducks and everything in the world. So that's how it started. Steph, do you want to join in there?
Yeah, so we basically always just knew we were going to come back to the family's farm, and we always knew we were going to do something like intrinsically. So we grew up, barefoot, running around and just hanging out like with our family. And if we wanted to be with our family, we essentially had to work alongside them. You know what I mean?
And 13 of us cousins growing up.
Yeah, lots of cousins. Wow. So we worked. We milked cows, and we just helped because there was no choice, and it was nice. And so we were taught a lot of skills because of that. But that really like put a pride into us that we were like, hey, like it's our turn. Like it's going to be our turn. Like we have to figure out what we want to do. We did not know what that was going to be. We knew we were going to return to the farm. We both went away to college. Haley went to Iowa State and I went to Susquehanna University in Pennsylvania. You guys might know that because you're from
sure.
We both went to Susquehanna. And then I transferred to Iowa State when Stephanie graduated.
You're like, all right, I'm going out west.
Bear it without me. But yeah, so then we went to college and we were like, oh my gosh, we're like the only farmers here. You know what I mean?
Everyone didn't have a family farm growing up. Everyone lived this way.
And then we noticed like people are completely disconnected. Even if they didn't grow on the farm, they're completely disconnected with the American farmer and which is the source of their food. And it was like a very awakening moment for us. Like, oh my goodness. So we were always talking about the farm. Like in any one of so I went to school, I graduated with business, marketing, and entrepreneurship. Like anytime I had a project, I was just talking about why you need to drink whole milk and why that's good, and like why you need to like understand your farmer to understand the products that are coming off their farm. Like all farms aren't, equal and but farmers do care about what they're doing. Like all farmers, they care about the land, they care about their animals, and they care about the next generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways,
knowing your farmer is like the biggest thing that we say, because when you know your farmer, you understand what they're trying to tell you, right?
Yes.
And what they do.
Exactly. And so then we were like, we'd also be in coffee shops and we'd be at bars and we'd be like literally on our study abroad trips in Europe and talking about why you need to know your farmer. And we're like, oh my gosh, well, okay, this is something we need to do, but like, how are we going to bring this back, you know, to the farm to help sustain it? And so anyways, basically we graduated and then we got into a spot where, hey, family farms are going out of business all the time and at an alarming rate.
Our family farm was at risk for a couple different times growing up. I remember the first time we were in elementary school and the milk just kept getting dumped. We're like, what's going on? And everyone was so, you know, it wasn't a happy, jolly farm at that moment. Everyone was really like nervous and scared. That was the first time, you know, we realized like this life isn't, like, we're trying so hard, and why is this happening? Why are we at risk of losing the cows? It's elementary school. And then while we were in college, like a lot of things started sparking up. Farms were struggling. I read an article that in 2017 to 2022, 45% of farms in Pennsylvania went out of business. And so right before, in 2019 at the beginning, we almost sold the cows. We were getting overflow conventional pricing. We were organic farm because that's what makes sense in our area and for our farm. We couldn't survive on $7 a hundredweight, right? That's crazy. For those who aren't farmers listening to this, like
that's
it's
low. That's low.
Yeah. You can't do that. And so we almost sold the cows. And then COVID happened. The market got a little stabilized. And we got really aggressive, like, okay, we need to stop studying. We need to stop figuring out what we're going to do. We knew we wanted to do something with the brand, but let's get to it. And so we got a huge grant from, at that time, it felt huge. We got a $3,000 grant to start a business.
We're rich. We got this.
Our credit cards.
And then that connected us with a little bit larger of a grant, $10,000. We from the support from the state and the dairy industry. So we started building our business plan. We started with the question, what product can we make from our family's farm that can get large enough that we can use all the milk? So that if the plug gets pulled from the co-op, we're still good. We still get to keep the cows.
We wanted to be in control of our own destinies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're like, so we went off and we figured out how to build like an $8 million processing plant for like a year and a half, right? That was our business plan. And we were grinding. And I had to
like, we're going to have to make it all ourselves.
Yeah, we're just going to put it on the farm. We're just going to put all the milk through it, you know, figured it out, hired the architect, whatever, got everything figured out. And then we got to the point where we're about to present to the bank. And then somebody
we got the quote that it was $8 million, and we're like, oh God, we're gonna have to switch this up.
Yeah, processing is crazy. What goes into processing, especially a cultured product like yogurt.
Well, we didn't even
in
want
that business plan. The only product we weren't gonna make is yogurt.
Yes. We were gonna make fluid milk. We were gonna make cheese. We were gonna make like everything besides
water.
Yogurt.
So
Haley
you completely shifted
besides our yogurt. So yeah, and we were like, okay, we were about to present to the bank, and then it was like, okay, we're gonna spend $8 million, but we don't know if we can sell that final product. So like, what are we gonna do? Just hang out with some bottles of milk? You know what I mean? And then that puts our family's farm at jeopardy. So we're like, wow, we have two companies here. We have a processing plant, and we have
brand.
We have a brand, and we didn't even know that at that point we were going to be like, it's the CBG, like the CPG industry, consumer packaged goods. We had no idea. We had no idea that that's what we were doing. We were just like, okay. And then we found a co-packer. And then within a month, we rewrote the whole business plan to add the co-packer back in, or to add the co-packer in. And so we partnered with a 10th generation Icelandic yogurt maker right here in Pennsylvania, which was like,
he just started in 2017, and we met him in 2018.
What timing?
Sinking perfect.
Wow.
Like, we're very like energy people. Like, we're like, it's meant to be. Things to line up if it's supposed to.
And it was so good. Like Stephanie said, I don't like most of the yogurts that you find in the stores because they have like protein powders added to them or different things. Like, we grew up, you know, you feed the calves milk replacer once in a while. To me, like, protein powder tastes like that, and when I eat a yogurt, I'm like, oh, it reminds me of feeding calves.
You can't get it out of your system. You're like, oh gosh, too relatable.
So this technology, we filter out the water and it keeps all 4 cups of milk in there. All of the micronutrients don't get lost versus normal strain technology in the US. They centrifuge it, so they spin it really fast. They lose all the whey protein, all the micronutrients, and then add protein powder back into it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be dairy protein powder. It could be pea protein or, just thickeners. So that's when, it just is milk in the yogurt, which is why it's so good.
Is that like the style, the Icelandic style that does that specifically? Okay, so that's what makes your yogurt Icelandic, or is it skyr?
Like you're going
skyr. Oh, that's a good way to remember it, because I feel like I always know, but I'm always almost afraid to say it out loud because I'm like, am I going to sound like an idiot trying to pronounce
I know.
this?
Yeah, it's okay. Like, we've gotten to that point.
Like,
we were saying it wrong, of course. Like, we sat down at our family farms table and we presented, like, hey, like, this is the best thing that we can put, like, our milk into to make the most nutrient dense product. We're going to make skyr. And
they're like,
our dad and our 2 uncles currently own the farm, right? And they're big farm dudes. And they were like,
we just want Yoplait, guys.
Like,
yogurt,
what are you doing?
like, man. And we're like, no, it's like really good yogurt. It's skyr. And they're like, what? Skyr. And we're like, no.
Skirt.
Oh, goodness. So we had to convince them. That was our first step. And then we had to convince the bank because we need a little bit more operating money.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then just kind of rock and rolled from then. So, like, after we presented that business plan, a couple months later, we launched March of 2022. And since then, we're in over 2,000 stores we just closed on Alaska like a week ago. So in all 50 states. So it's cool. Pennsylvania milk is in all 50 states. That's about
awesome.
Sustaining the Pennsylvania, and we have some New York farms too, because we're right on the border.
Mm-hmm.
Like, our farm is right on the border. So we're sustaining family farms, not just ours, but a couple in that general vicinity. It's so wild.
That is so cool. And I smile listening to this because it's so awesome to hear how it evolved, and from it stemming just from a place of loving the dairy industry, but loving your family farm and wanting to find that unique way to really make sure it can continue to be around and be passed down to generations. And I loved that as well, that you guys had to pivot a lot. And it originally was like starting as, okay, yogurt's lame, not doing that. Actually, that's the best idea. And
that's literally what it was.
Like, oh, actually, we were wrong. This sounds great.
And that's so important too. Like that's what is so important. And you know that, like, you have your own business, like, and even this, I'm sure there's times when it's like something absolutely does not go the way that you planned it, like every single day. And
every day.
That's true. Give up, or I can just like figure it out and
be positive about it.
Be positive.
Yeah, just find a way to like pivot and adapt. And I know that y'all have already talked a little bit about, what makes your yogurt really unique, of course, is it being skyr, which I do love. It's so thick. It does make it so much creamier. But aside from that, which I know that is a big, thing that differentiates it from other brands, I would love to know how y'all really found your brand voice, how you've continued to maintain that with Painterland Sisters, and how you continue to differentiate yourself from other yogurts out on the market, because as we know, there's so many products of literally anything. And so
many.
Would love to hear that.
Yeah, you just see people in the yogurt aisle in the grocery store. That's where people are like hanging out. It's just because there's so many choices. So Em, I love that question.
Mm-hmm. It's so there's a stat we heard recently, and everything we hear just like fuels us, and like we're so passionate, but also like really upset. 98% of the food on the grocery store shelves is owned by 10 companies.
Wow.
So we're all for small, medium, large, but you have to also have the small and the medium. If you have 98% of the food owned by 10 companies, it makes it really difficult for food brands to get started. So another stat is 99% of new food brands go out of business. 99%. Wow. And so we didn't know any of this when we were getting started, thank goodness.
Oh, darn. Yeah, you're like, I'm glad that was a later thing that we found out.
It's like, oh yeah, this is the best. Brands have they're like, it's gonna be easy ride.
But to find our brand identity, we always look within what we like, what we wished we found on the grocery store shelves and what we know on the farm, right? And that's not resignated on the shelves.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of the final approver before anything goes out, and we try to speak very positively about all types of agriculture, all types of food. So positivity is like the biggest aspect.
You can
And
see
then
that.
really being genuine to who we are. And as we get deeper and deeper into the CPG world, it's like we really try to connect more and more with farmers in our area and across the country, so we can keep that voice stronger than the store's voice or what the store's looking for, because the consumers and what the farmers need are the most important, and bridging that gap so consumers and farmers can be here, and the middleman kind of like, we're just supporting that. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, at this point, pretty much like as she was explaining the stats, the middleman, the distributors and retailers, they control a lot of what we eat, right? And they control a lot of how we put our stuff out into the world. And we really, like Haley was saying, like, we are an interesting brand because we're a farmer-owned CPG company, which is not
very
normal.
rare.
And so we have these two perspectives. We have the perspective of an actual national food brand now, and the perspective of a farmer, and then also the perspective of just a consumer, right? So like our target market is me. Like it's Haley and I. It's millennial, women basically. And we have a couple target markets, but the main one is like people who want nutrient dense products and that have maybe they have kids to feed, that they want to give them the best, and they care about the world. They understand that, hey, like we only have a short time left. Like we need to all get together and figure out how to take care of Mother Earth in the best possible way. And that includes lots of different types of way. It doesn't just mean like totally organic agriculture. Like it could mean just taking care of the animals and the earth and in a good way. And so every time we put, really us, it's not selling yogurt, and that's how we lead the brand. It's educating people on agriculture and what that means, and if it's done right, what that means to our bodies, our children's bodies, and future generations, and what that all means to Mother Earth. So like that's what we do. We lead with education, and we really just get back to our roots. Like it's a very natural, feminine looking brand. Like
I love it.
I mean, 80% of the buying power is women. Like why don't we like exactly, like
it's crazy
out on the shelf. Like honestly, like the plant-based yogurts know how to market, right?
They
like,
do.
They have cute branding, and then we have all this dairy, and it's just not
so
cute.
like manly and bold and just
rigid in their graphic design.
Yeah.
And so we're like, hey, like we can do this. Like let's make this cute. Like let's womanify this a little bit.
And what I love too is you're speaking to my branding and advertising heart. So I work for a dairy cooperative, and I'm a brand manager. So this is, I'm like ready to gobble it all up what you ladies have. But one thing that I think is super interesting is that I love that you're bringing real data and real science into your decisions, but also you're using your intuition as sisters and as dairy farmers. And it's like you have this awesome blended approach to how you market your product and how you bring it to market. But I'd also love to hear, how you're bringing the sister element into your brand. What is it like owning and operate? So you're business owners and your sisters at the same time, right? And you might have had an advantage growing up on a farm together, working together and navigating family, but we would love to hear how you manage that dynamic as business owners and sisters.
So I'm just going to say one thing really quick.
Uh-oh.
So we are co-CEOs for a reason, because one of us just couldn't be the CEO.
You're like, no, this is going to crash and burn if we have this argument all of the time.
We had some serious consultants in at the beginning, and they're like, you can't be co-CEOs.
Like, why not?
And now this co-CEO term is popping up all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so fun, and we really do make sure we make the best decision going forward. So it's
yeah.
What do you think, Steph?
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, of course it's been difficult. Like, you know, we have to go from like reminding ourselves, especially at the beginning, like we're just continuing to evolve as sisters and business owners together, right? Like we're not 15-year-old girls anymore fighting over each other's shirt. Like we have to like check
Maybe
Oh man,
sometimes.
that went down.
yeah, once in a while, I'm like, hey, like, where's that dress? Like, you said you'd have it back, like, but you know, and so we've definitely have grown since we started this business together because we realized, like, hey, we have to have boundaries here. Like, we can't like constantly be at a family gathering talking about Painterland Sisters. Everyone just gets super annoyed.
Like, all right, we know.
We kind of like go off and we're like, and then our fiancés will be like, oh my gosh, just stop talking about Painterland Sisters. And we're like,
Parents and like farm family love it because it's essentially like, you know, it's all of us together doing this. Like they're so prideful. But yeah, when we talk about it with other people, like high school friends even, it's like, am I talking about this too much?
yeah, like we just don't stop talking about it. But so we've really had to draw, you know, we've essentially just like evolved and have, you know, grown within our new roles as not just sisters, but as co-CEOs, and like learned how to respect certain boundaries, learn how to respect each other in different stages of your life, you know, just even like, you know, your partner, you know what I mean? Like your fiance, your husband, whatever, like, you know, you constantly have to check where you're at in that relationship because 5 years, it changes, you know, different needs, different wants, different perspectives. And that's how it is with family and, you know, how it is with you're, you know, doing business with your sister. And sometimes it's just like, I really love you right now, but I have to get off the phone with you for 5 minutes because I can't take it. And then we'll get back on. We'll
I'm
reconvene.
putting you on silent because it is midnight.
Yeah. Like, please leave me alone.
I'm telling her at midnight. I have 3 kids, right? And so I'm like up. I'm like, I have an idea.
She's like, my birthday. We just need 12 hours here.
Like, just this window, please. Boundaries.
Our vision, though, like, and values growing up on the farm, and you guys probably experienced it. Values on a family farm. You grew up working together. We grew up, for instance, every morning we'd start at like 5 or 6, do all the cow chores, make sure the cows are fed, milked. And then we'd have breakfast at 9 a.m. with everybody, all the cousins, grandparents, you know, dads, uncles, aunts. And so we talk with each other, look each other in the eyes, and talk about what you were upset about before it boils up and you don't talk for 25 years. Like a lot of people are starting to do nowadays. And so although we irritate each other to the point where, all right, oh shoot, my Microsoft just popped up. Sorry.
Oh, that's a convenient time, you know, for
like,
Microsoft
happen where it's like, okay, we could let it fester, but showing up and like working through it faster is kind of how we grew up, and we're going to constantly be pivoting and changing, but just doing it together. The cool part is we might struggle a little more because we're extra authentic to each other, but we also thrive even more. Like when we go to these trade shows, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know if this like flowy dress is way too much. And then Stephanie's like, nah, you got this because I'm wearing the same one. You know, like,
yep.
We pump each
can
other
lean
up.
on each other.
Yeah. And we can like finish I'm sure you guys know, like you finish each other's sentences, like you understand each other more than almost anyone in the world. Like you're sisters, like that's so special. And like now we have a wonderful team like that we've brought into this sisterhood. Like we have such great team members that are really like have that same vision, and it comes with Haley and I having that sturdy relationship and that same vision, and then bringing everyone else on, you know what I mean, and going together. So it's like the energy's beautiful, man.
I love it, but you can just tell with this dynamic. I mean, of course, you are both just obviously so smart and driven, but that's awesome that I think I know many of us growing up and I can experience that you do just grow up with like a really close-knit relationship if you let it. I know sometimes, like you said, if something happens, it can tear people apart, but it's awesome that y'all have been so open and authentic with each other because, as you said, maybe it gets like uncomfortable at times, or if you're like brutally honest, it's like, oh, that kind of hurt my feelings. But in the end, it's something that just allows you to really be open and authentic to just continue to have a like slightly clear path moving forward.
Yeah. Emmy and I have talked about this before, and it's so different with sisters because you can actually say how you're feeling, get mad, and then come back to it. We compare it to like girl and guy friendships of how stereotypically they operate of like, I feel so comfortable with you that I can tell you exactly how I'm feeling and not without the fear or risk of
Losing
okay,
me.
you're not going to talk to me or you're
all.
going to go to someone else. I mean, she might go to our brother and say, man, Becca's being really mean today.
He doesn't want to hear from. He's like, nah, I don't want this drama. He grew up with it. He's like, no.
Yeah.
My brothers are too. They're like,
go away.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think that that's a really awesome way of leveraging the difference in a sister relationship versus a, hey, we were put together by a company to run a company, that you can bring that authenticity, that trust, and that truth into your relationship and how you run the business.
100%. Authenticity is like a huge driving factor, and we carry that into our brand. Like, we just want to be real with everyone.
Yeah. Just keeping it real. No, I love that. And again, everything that
keeping it real.
just doing our best. But everything that y'all have said, I mean, you can see it so clearly in your brand, on your socials, and the actual product. And it's just awesome getting to hear how all of that has really come about. And with growing that business, and even again, your relationship and evolving with that, I would love to hear, what we would love to hear is what has been the hardest and or the most surprising part with starting a business and running a business.
I'll say one. When we first started, we were supposed to launch our yogurt line in December, but then the fruit didn't come in. And so we got a little bit of fruit. Well, by that time, you know, COVID was still, you're feeling it in the supply chain. And all of our labels were like back ordered. So we could get the cups, but the labels that come pre-done on the cups, we couldn't get. And so we had to find a printer to print these curved labels. And then we had to hand label the first 60,000 units. We found these glue dots on Uline. We had all of our family drive 3 hours south.
Wow.
Like 4 a.m. they'd start. We'd hand label.
Oh my gosh.
And we had so many
we did not get this far to go against some stinking labels. Like, we got this. Like, we have our first order coming out in 2 weeks. We finally sold this yogurt. We're not going to let dang labels. Like, we're farm kids. Like, so we got the whole farm to come down and
the whole community. We had like different rotations because we did this like 10-hour days, probably like 7-8 times, hand labeling these yogurts in a refrigerator.
You go, girls.
But yeah, so we started March of 2022. We didn't actually get our labels until June. And so we say March is our starting date, but really June of 2022 was, because that's when we could really let it fly.
Yeah, and not have to like work your hands raw, putting a million labels on these containers.
And in a refrigerator while you're cold.
Oh, yeah.
While trying to figure out logistics between how to like actually run a company. It's like, okay, well now we're working, like we're not only have the hand label, but like now we actually like have invoices to deal with, and we have like logistics to figure out, and we have
legal stuff.
Yeah, we have legal stuff to figure out, and every single day something else is coming. Oh, we have an accountant, we have a this, we have a that. We're like, holy smokes. And then we're like, we need more people. Like, this is crazy. And that's really what it was, is like Haley and I are very open with like knowing we don't know everything. You know what I mean? And I think that that's, you know, some people get stuck on thinking they can do everything, and nobody can do everything. You know what I mean? We all need each other, and that is a plus with working with your sister. You have each other to lean on, but we needed a team to lean on. And we were like, hey, like spreadsheets, I think like
we don't got it.
Negative energy.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Spreadsheets, have bad energy.
Accounting, not my thing. You know what I mean? Like, and just logistics and figuring out all these different things, and like really like bringing on a team that had our same positive. And that's the forefront of when we, you know, bring on people. It's like, hire somebody that has that mindset, that positivity, and then we look at like what they can, you know, their actual skills. Like it's that mindset. It's like, hey, we can figure this out. We can do it. You know, it's the drive. We're in a startup. We know we have to pivot constantly. It's about not getting like negative about the fact like something didn't go right, because every single day something goes a little different than you thought. You know what I mean? So it's about that. And so we've utilized consultants. We've utilized really, like Grandma Painter said, so if you, like, when you make mistakes, you're basically paying a tuition expense, right? You're paying to learn that thing. And so we have paid our tuition expenses, but we've also paid professionals to make sure that we don't have to pay, you know, bigger tuition expense fees. So I think just like looking in the mirror and knowing what you're good at and what you need help with is, it's really important. And having the humility to just say like, I don't know how to do that. You know what I mean?
Questions. Like, we didn't get this far by like thinking we knew exactly what we were going to do. Like the yogurt thing, right? We just knew we wanted to make this dairy product to sustain our farm. How do we get here to there? How do we connect consumers to farmers? And so we had these like this vision, and every single like answer to our questions is always that. So being very open-minded to everything, asking anyone what their advice is, what they think, taking it all together, and then making that conscious decision to go in that direction. There's specialists in everything, but if you only lean on one specialist, it's like no one has ever started a Painterland Sisters organic skyr yogurt brand nationally, right? So you can't take one person's advice. You have to take a little bit of everything, make a nice cocktail, and then drive towards that, you know, vision that we have, and like staying true to that.
And staying confident to that. Like, you know, when we first started, it's like, so you know that there's like a lot of yogurt brands out there, right? Like, yeah, we know that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
And then it was like, you know that the refrigerated section of the grocery store is the most difficult section to get into. And we're like,
and the most expensive.
And the most expensive. We're like, okay, all right, whatever.
Like, you know, cool. Milk isn't really selling right now. You should really do a skim. And about that real sugar, you should really do monk fruit and stevia because it's trending. And we're like,
and like,
yeah, but we like whole milk and real sugar because that's what's found in milk, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like just making all the decisions based on that and not falling into the trends, which is what I think keeps us fresh on the shelves, is not falling into what's going to be trendy next year.
Yeah, there are long-term trends and then there are short-term trends, and like people always come back to natural sources of protein.
Yep.
That's what people want, right? And we always come back to it.
Real food.
Yeah, real food. People want real food. Yeah. And you know what? I love Grandma Painter. Shout out. I don't know if she's a podcast girl, but I think that Emmy, that leads really nice into, because Grandma Painter sounds like a woman in agriculture that we would look up to, right? And Emmy and I were talking, we'll do like a weekly obsession or a hot take, and we realized that, March is exciting. It's National Ag Month and it's Women's History Month. So how can we feed two birds with one scone? And
two birds, one scone.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm done throwing stones at birds. I'm just feeding them scones.
Positive energy. That is so cute.
But we would love to hear women, like we want to talk about women we look up to in agriculture. And this was so tough. I was thinking about this last night. I'm like, okay, this is a morning problem for me to figure out, because you have, our mom or our gram.
I know.
Our mom was a milk inspector. Our gram is like the brains behind our family dairy farm. And then
I love that.
You have like people in college, or you have your ag teachers or your 4-H leaders,
everyone.
Or like every single one of my friends that I call, you know, I called them my board of directors anytime I have a question about work, right? I'll call my girlfriends. But one person who really stuck out in my mind is Beth Ford, who is the CEO of Land O'Lakes. And she is just a powerhouse of a leader, and I love how she is using her platform to talk about rural broadband, right? Like some of these farms are still partly in the Stone Ages because they literally
Yeah.
don't have access to Wi-Fi. And
That
it's
was us.
just,
That was us.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, you know? People just make these assumptions about agriculture, or like people in these more rural communities. And technology and internet is like the access to the world outside. So I love how she leads her team, how she interacts with her team on LinkedIn. She shouts out interns. Like, this woman's a big deal. She's meeting
That's
the president,
awesome.
right? But she has time for the interns. And I love her cause of rural broadband. So I'll kick it off with that. I think my answer probably
Amazing.
equates to like
Mm-hmm.
150 people, 200 people. But I'm curious
I know.
who wants to go next if you have a woman or women in agriculture that like you really look up to.
Oh goodness. Like you said, it's like I'm seeing stars right now. So many people that
flashing.
are like,
Yeah.
like, popping up.
When we like look at our family, we always said like the women in our lives are really strong. Both our grandmas. Our one grandma came from like New York City. She's scrappy and she got to the
Our mom's
country
side
as soon
came
as
from
she
the
could.
city.
She started the softball team here because before it was just, you know, boys who played baseball. So like she's super powerful. And then we got our grandma Painter who helped start the farm and expand that. We had our great aunt who's 4'8", had this dairy farm her whole life, and she was the one working the cows, like with her border collies, and she loved it. We have the cutest pictures of her. And then our mom, like our Stephanie and I are very like sweet, calm individuals, but we're also fiery, driven, you know, like we're bold. And our mom has that fiery, I'm going to do anything for my family. I'm going to get there. And so in agriculture, I think it's like all of them together.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Don't feel like you have to pick your one favorite and everyone else is below that.
But it is important, like especially like as I'm raising up my daughters now, like they're watching us. Little girls are watching us, and not just their moms. They're watching other females in their life. You know what I mean? And it's so important, you know, as aunts and grandmas and friends of, you know, people with kids, like what you do and how you walk the walk and talk the talk, they pick up on, and that is what's being ingrained in them for the next generation. So, you know, they weren't like, hey, I'm going to give our family's like, I'm going to give Stephanie and Haley a whole curriculum on how to start a, you know, national business and how to just, you know, stick their heads, you know, and be confident and just have confidence in themselves. We just watched what they did every single day. You know what I mean? We watched them be confident in their decisions. We watched them be feisty. We watched them not give up. We watched them work hard. We watched them be gritty. We watched them and we learned from them and we absorbed from them. And that's like what, you know, just so privileged to have grown up the way that we had, and not just working alongside our dad and our grandpas, our uncles, but like the women, especially as little girls, like the women. And yeah, you're dang right. That is so cool. And it is definitely a farm her moment when it's Ag Month and National or International Women's Day, like tomorrow, right?
Yeah. And when we're recording this tomorrow,
story.
Friday, March 8th.
Sweet.
I know. Oh my
I have a
gosh.
fun story that relates to Emily. So when we started the yogurt, it was March 2022, right? But we started the Instagram in 2021 or 2020, something like that. Maybe even 2019. I don't know. So we were basically just marketing this thing that we didn't even know what we were going to have. So what did we do? We talked about agriculture. And when we first got started, it was like, how do we find all of these powerful ag women on Instagram? That was like the thing. And so I can't tell you how many times I've said, Dairy Girl Fitness, guys, you got to connect with Dairy Girl Fitness. Look at what Dairy Girl Fitness is doing. We brought our like marketing team in who aren't connected with agriculture as much. They're great at what they do. They're powerful. They're driven. But it's like, all right, check out Dairy Girl Fitness. Check out Tara, New Mexican milkmaid who's changed her handle, like modern farm chick, tulips. Like, check out these powerful like ag women. Lean on them, you know, like collaborate with them, connect with them. Like they are what's going to make our brand different, because we're not just going to focus on a bunch of ambassadors. We're going to connect with our community, and our community is women in ag, women who are taking this voice for agriculture in a new way because we now have social media and we can now be that voice for these farmers who couldn't. Like, our dad's not going to jump on social and talk. No, your dad's probably not going to do that.
No.
You know, you guys are. So connecting through each other, like, we can connect with so many women in ag across the country, across the world. So that's like my woman like empowerment thing. Like, I look up to you guys so much because we're all in it together.
Emmy, how do you feel about getting a shout out on your own podcast? Did you plant that?
It feels like if I had my hair down, I'd flip it over my shoulder right now. But it's up right now. No, but it is just, it's so hard to pick just, like this one person, because there are just so many incredible women in the ag industry. And I think for me, just what inspires me to continue growing personally, but also even within my business, is just seeing the women in ag who show up for themselves authentically and go after whatever goal that they have set. And I know that's so broad, but it's just so hard to narrow it down for me. And that can mean whether you're starting a yogurt brand, whether you want to be the most kick-ass stay-at-home mom, whether you want to be involved in the farm, or you want to be the best corporate cowgirl like Becca. It's just seeing women just authentically show up for themselves and seeing more and more women recognize that they're worthy and deserving of that, especially in agriculture. I know it's so easy for us to put the land, the animals, literally everything else before us. But it just continuously inspires me to see more and more women showing up for themselves and really just going after the big scary dream or the lifestyle that they're trying to create.
Love that. You're literally about to make me cry, so I'm trying to think about it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I can keep going.
I'm so emotional now that I, have all these hormones rocking through me. But I think you just nailed it. Like, when we were growing up, we would go to the 4-H, we'd be in FFA and 4-H and different things, and we'd go to the fair, and we'd be in dresses and stuff, and be like, hey, well, you're not like country enough with that outfit on. You're not like farm girl enough. We're like, but like we live on a farm, we milk cows. What do you mean we're not farm girl enough? You know what I mean?
Literally doing it.
Yeah, and so it's so empowering to hear what you just said and just be like, hey, just true to ourselves and be inspired by these women who are also being true to themselves. It's so amazing. That's strong energy. Many hands make light work. We're doing this all together. We're raising the voice of ag women together, and just agriculture in general together, not just ag women, agriculture in general. We're doing that, because 80% of that buying power is women. The more we talk about it in voice, the more that people will be able to resonate with that and relate to it in a positive way. And it's really important that we all work together to do it. So it's cool.
Oh my gosh. I'm pumped up. What a way to wrap up the episode. I'm going to go run through a wall after this and just, I don't know, find something to do.
I just want to whenever they smash the milks or smash the beers, I want to go smash some yogurt, go get some Painterland yogurt. Just
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. All right. Well, if anyone decides to do that, please record it and we'll put it on our socials. And I would just be, so thrilled to see that. But again, ladies, this has been such a fun and empowering conversation. And again, it's just so inspiring to see ladies go after the things that they are excited about and staying authentic to themselves in the process. And as we are sisters, it's so fun to just get to chat with other sisters with this similar dynamic. So just thank you. Thank you so much for having a conversation with us and being on the Cowgirl Talk podcast.
Thank you guys. Are you kidding me? This is just so fun. I'm all jazzed up for the day.
I know. Look at us smiling. If y'all are watching this video, we're all just
cheeks hurt.
The dimples are showing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We're happy to be cowgirls with you.
Yes.
We're all cowgirls in spirit. And we always like to end our podcast with saying, well, Em does it better, of all the things that you can do, subscribe, comment, share, do all the things. And most importantly, have a great day, cowgirls. Bye.
Bye.